Hi, I'm Jill Hausman, Rabbi of the historic Actors Temple in Times Square, the heart of Manhattan, where stars of the stage and screen used to come. Well, it's been quite a year, but not in the way you might think. The political situation aside, through several authors and teachers, I have learned some amazing facts. I say facts because initially this learning has come from a book called The Field by Lynn McTaggart, a science writer. Now, don't let your eyes glaze over. Please stay with me, because this is important, and it relates to you. How many of you have ever heard of the uncertainty principle in quantum physics? The scientists Max Planck, Niels Bohr, and Werner Heisenberg made discoveries in the early 20th century which informed us that you can't predict where an electron is in an atom. Einstein proved that matter and energy can be converted into each other. Another way to express Einstein's discovery is that waves of light become particles in our physical world, and particles then can become energy or waves of light. Consider the following experiment. A scientist named Robert John, educated at Princeton, who also taught there, made something called an REG machine, or random event generator. He and his colleagues collected reams of data from many human studies concerning our ability to influence this machine. Then a French scientist named René Pecoque took one of John's machines and imprinted baby chicks on it. Now, you all know about imprinting. When a chick hatches out of an egg, the first thing it sees, it thinks, is its mother. This scientist imprinted the baby chicks on the machine as if the machine were its mother. The machine was set to wander around the room randomly. He found that the desire of the chicks to be near their mother changed the path of this random machine so that it approached the chicks more than just randomly. This has been called the observer effect, that our minds and hearts have the ability to change reality. What was going on here, and how does it relate to us? McTaggart's book documents hundreds of double-blind, peer-reviewed experiments, the gold standard in science, which taken together show two things. The first, the model of classical physics, Newtonian physics, that we think explains our world is wrong, or perhaps it's incomplete. And second, that the uncertainty principle of the atomic world operates not just on the atomic level, but in our bodies and in our physical world as well. There is now scientific proof that we live in a field of energy which apparently has intelligence and heart or feeling. And further, that we actually have the ability to influence that field. In reading about this research, one can even go so far as to see in it a scientific proof for the existence of God. And I always teach that no person can prove the existence of God to any other person, but that each person can prove the existence of God to him or herself. And now science is tiptoeing into this area with amazing research. To me, this is amazing to know. But how does it affect us? In investigating healing techniques for my husband, Hal, who has mental and physical deficits from a cardiac arrest a number of years ago, I was gradually led to some contemporary scientists whose work I've read or whom I've listened to on the internet. And since I was trained as an evolutionary biologist, I just love reading about science and spirituality and how they are describing each other in our time. The scientists include Bruce Lipton, author of The Biology of Belief, Dr. Joe Dispenza, author of You Are the Placebo, and Greg Braden, author of The Divine Matrix. These authors have rediscovered principles of affecting the field in a purposeful way for healing and for peace. Now, I've been teaching about some of these principles for many years. I've said that love is the spiritual currency of the universe, that we are all one, that we are meant to live both in the physical universe and also in the spiritual universe, that God appears to every person according to their experience and belief, and that the coming age will produce a synthesis of science and spirituality. However, it was not until recently, through the work of these and other contemporary teachers, that I've grasped the missing piece in my understanding. We can find this missing piece in Torah if we know what we're looking for. In other words, in the Bible, in the Old Testament. In the book of Deuteronomy, what I call the love book, because there is an emphasis on loving God in it, love is mentioned 15 times in this book, and heart is mentioned 48 times. The book says, if you will seek God, your God, you will find God if you search with all your heart and with all your soul. The same portion of the Torah contains the Shema, the prayer of the oneness of all being, and also the prayer that follows the Shema, called Ve'ahavta, and you shall love, begging us to love the world and to love each other. These verses show us the key that unlocks heaven's doors: emotion, love, feeling, desire, and compassion. The second paragraph of the Shema in the next Torah portion clearly tells us that through love and through service, we can influence physical reality. So where am I going with this? The energy field is influenced through thought. We all know that. What we don't realize is that the thought has to be powered by our emotion. It's the unity of thought and emotion that produces a result. Love, gratitude, and joy supply the current which allows us to communicate with the field, to communicate effectively with the divine presence, or with God, if you will, whatever you call that great oneness in the spiritual universe. The current is both electrical and magnetic. Studies have shown that the brain sends out weak electrical and magnetic waves. Heart energy, however, is 100 times more powerful electrically and 5,000 times more powerful magnetically than brain energy. That is why love energy paired with thought is so important. King David said this too. We affirm it in a prayer called Ashrei, which says, God is near to all those who call upon God, to all who call to God in truth. The Eternal will fulfill the desire of those who have awe and reverence for God, and will hear their cry and save them. God preserves all who love the divine presence. The prophet Zechariah said, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, said the Eternal Holy One. And there's more for us to understand. We've been taught that biology is our destiny, that genes determine our health, and so much more. However, the science now shows that belief and expectation direct gene expression. It sounds like magic, but it has been proven to be true scientifically. This is also the observer effect. What we expect to see, what we believe, is what manifests in our lives. Change our perspective, change our expectation, change our belief, and supply that important power of emotion. And we change ourselves and change the nature of our reality. Now, the Kabbalistic masters of the past understood many of these principles without being able to quote any science to back them up. There are Kabbalistic writings as far back as Roman times, among the Essenes, a sect of Judaism which is no more. And then there are writings from the 16th century rabbis of the town of Safad, the circle of Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Ari. And also, more importantly and most readily available, the 18th and 19th century teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and the many Hasidic Rebbes who taught and extended his wisdom. The Baal Shem Tovs taught us to live joyously. This is so important. This is what contains the kernel of our emotion and our love. He taught that everything is God, everything part of that great oneness. And he taught about the power of emotion. Here's one of his teachings. A student of the Baal Shem Tov became distraught over losing the kavanot, the special prayers and secret meditations said before the blowing of the shofar, the great ram's horn, on Rosh Hashanah. And this man burst into tears. The Baal Shem Tov came over to comfort him and said, "There are many halls in the king's palace, and intricate keys open each of the doors. But the axe is stronger than all of these, and no bolt can possibly withstand it." So pure emotion unlocks heaven's doors. The Hasidic masters could change the nature of reality, averting severe decrees against individuals and communities, and in the case of the Baal Shem Tov, arrive at a distant location, several days' journey away by coach. He used to get into a stagecoach, pulled by horses, even taking his students with him. They would close the shutters, they would depart during the night, and they would arrive in the morning at a destination 3 or 4 days away. Incredible. And yet, there are many accounts that he did this. It was called shortening the distance. A slightly later master, Rabbi Elimelech of Lizinsk, was troubled by his ability to alter the physical universe and wrote about it a number of times in his book Noam Elimelech. He said, and I quote, "God created the tzaddik, the holy person, who can nullify and annul God's decrees. How can he annul God's decrees that have already been determined and decided in the higher worlds?" Now, you may be a skeptic. You may say that the stories of the Hasidic masters cannot be proven. And yet, like God speaking to the prophets, Elijah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and so many more, there are too many instances of what some may call miracles to discount each and every one of them. Also, the contemporary scientists have proof that alterations in our physical reality can be accomplished by ordinary people, just like me, just like you. If you think about the chicks, if chicks can change the nature of reality, one researcher said, just think what human beings can do. Meditative states amplify our ability to remain in an elevated emotional state in our subconscious, where change can more effectively occur. Repetition is also a way to build a new habit of being into our lives. There are projects in place at this very moment to heal people and to bring more peace and harmony into the world through group intention and elevated emotions. Negative emotions and fixed expectations limit us and make us feel that we're victims and not creators of our reality. God has shown us the way to a true renewal by putting all of these teachings in our world at this moment through morality, integrity, love, joy, gratitude, and most importantly, an unlimited imagination. An imagination not of reality, but of the possible. As I have taught, we have a vision of peace and harmony that we and God have dreamed of together. How are we going to get there? It is not the world that will change. We will change. We'll change our beliefs, our thoughts, our emotions, and through these changes, the world will change. My beloved teacher of blessed memory, Rabbi Joseph Gelverman, taught that life, taken Kabbalistically, L-I-F-E, means L, to be loving unconditionally, I, to be inspiring unconditionally, F, to be forgiving unintentionally, and E, he used to say, to be excited unconditionally. He was a Satmar, the inheritor of the Hasidic tradition. If we are open-minded and also open-hearted, imagining the possible, we can be God's partners in creating a marvelous future. God has created the world this way for us to be a part of it. A new reality is already upon us. And now, in our time, we have the understanding to be co-creators in it. Isn't life grand? Isn't our world amazing? I invite you to come and visit me at the Historic Actors Temple anytime. And I love questions. Questions are my favorite. If anyone has a question, please contact me through theactorstemple.org or come to see me. We're living in an amazing time. Let's enjoy it. Let's create it. Let's be together in making the world a fantastic place.